Godzilla has had many different appearances and personalities over the decades, resulting in a lineup of kings that are mightily impressive. What Godzilla design is your favorite? But for the most part, the G-Man's appearance over the franchise's history has stayed true to his original design. However, there have been some alternate takes on the King of the Monsters that never made it to the big screen. This video is going to introduce many of you to a unique and terrifying Godzilla that almost came to be. One that would have not only scared the children, but the parents too.
This will give the parents nightmares.
So stomp that like button if you think Godzilla is amazing, and let's get to it. Many of you are familiar with Godzilla Final Wars. But if you're not, due to being super young or new to kaiju thanks to the Monsterverse, find yourself a copy and do so. It's a good time, trust me. In that movie, we witnessed what was possibly the most OP version of Godzilla to ever come into existence. All the immensely powerful atomic attacks you could imagine. And this time, with a more sleek and athletic body, giving him the ability to perform a variety of martial arts-like attacks. Like I said, the movie's a good time. The design of Final Goji was intended to be a sort of amalgamation or combination of all prior Godzillas, to honor the character's long history, and for the most part, I would say they succeeded. But originally, this Godzilla was almost very different. Before production began on Final Wars, the creative team got together and began to design all the monsters that we would eventually get to see on screen. When the time came to design the new uber-powerful Godzilla, designer Yasushi Nirasawa, a skilled artist who specialized in angular anatomy, asymmetrical features, and highly detailed muscles, put all his dark and twisted thoughts into creating what would have been a Goji that could only be described as demonic in appearance. Here it is. Resembling something like Daedra armor from the famous Elder Scrolls games, this design looked like it came straight from hell, but sadly it never came to be. In recent years, thanks to Tease Facto, a figure producing company, we finally got to see Nirasawa's amazing rendition brought to life. This sharp and jagged looking Goji had deep bluish purple scales and scoots all over its body, highlighted with a crimson red colored chest that honestly makes me uncomfortable looking at for some reason. Reminds me of those suction cup things some people use, or a baboon bite. Ugh. The head and jaws of this Goji remind me slightly of Shin Godzilla, just without the dirt. A massive mouth that takes up over half of his head and is full of deadly looking teeth. It's safe to say that this Godzilla would have had one hell of a bite. Speaking of Godzilla's bite force, we're making a special animated video on that right now, so stay tuned to Dangerville if you know what I'm saying. And we cannot ignore those blood red colored eyes. The whole demon idea is really starting to come together now, right? This design also has some of the most deadly looking dorsal spines that Godzilla could have ever had, appearing like sickle blades, sharp and pointy. Speaking of sharp, look at those claws. They are massive, and they look like they could rip flesh clean off the bone. Questionable for humans, amazing for Godzilla. Overall, this concept design for Godzilla, who I will call Demon Goji, would have likely been significantly less nimble and acrobatic than the true Final Wars design, which could very well be why this design was scrapped. But what it would have likely lacked in maneuverability, it would have more than made up for it in sheer power and honestly just looking like a real badass. Sadly, it never came to be, and we are left to only imagine what sort of amazing powers this Demon Goji could have had thought up for him. In the end, I appreciate both the final and this conceptual design for Final Wars Goji, but I can't help but wonder what legacy this Godzilla could have had if it made it to the final film. Which do you prefer, Final Goji or Demon Goji? Let's all vote with our comments down below. In closing, there is really no information on what this Godzilla would have been like if it made it past the conceptual phase of development. It's likely the entire movie would have been much different and would have needed a far darker tone than the lighthearted final film we got. And as gnarly as this design was, it would have been very hard for the Goji to be described as a heroic figure saving the world from invaders, and in the end, the design we got was still epic. So everyone, thank you all for your time today, and a big thanks to both KDM and Clayton Fioriti for bringing this demon Goji to my attention. As always, this has been Jacob, and I will see you in the next one.